Hey there. Sorry it's been a little bit, but I've been busy, and that's pretty much it. But today I'm going to talk to you about something I've already talked to you about before, and this is probably why I need to start doing react videos or something, but you gotta keep improving. I think that it's fundamental to the human being to keep improving yourself. And I'm not talking about self-improvement in that way. I'm talking about learning new skills and doing things that you didn't think about doing before. Right now I've been listening to an audiobook for the entire Bible, but it's split up into sections, and right now I'm just about to finish Genesis. Have I paid attention to 100%? No. But I have learned a lot so far, and I also downloaded the Bible to read. Now, whatever religion you're, raised on, it doesn't matter whether or not you believe it. I just do think that it's kind of important to know about. So, get into it. Now, I don't care if you read the Quran, the Bible, whatever. Now, that being said, what else can you do if you're not a religious person? Fair enough. Let me just adjust that there. Fair enough if you don't believe in religion. I agree with you. I still think you should learn it, but if you completely are just not in the mood to even attempt it, just try reading a book. You like nonfiction? You want to learn something? Do you like fiction? Do you want to feel something? Do you want to feel the story, You want to have fun with it? That's cool. What do you want to do? Do you just want to learn something quick and it's not really nonfiction? Read the dictionary so you can become Slim Shady or something. Or maybe, better yet, read the Spanish dictionary so you can actually learn a new language. Because the reality of our world is there's a lot of English and a lot of Spanish. You might as well pick both and see if you can nail both down. Now, I'm not exactly an expert in Spanish yet, but I know some words. I know the essentials. I know how to ask someone out, check someone into the ER, and say sorry and say thank you. Pretty good right there. Also, give me money in Spanish. It's dame dinero. That's pretty fire. It's been a long day. I got off work at 3:30, and now it is 8. We have been grinding all of these parks. We have been going everywhere. I went to Pighorn Park. I went to Lake Runnymede. I went to the Kissimmee, the St. Cloud Lakefront, and I'm just leaving now. And it's pretty cool. I needed to get it done. It was like a requirement. I haven't done those with my new camera, especially my new lens. And I gotta say, if you are interested in buying a camera, I want you to factor in 2 things. First of all, if you are getting into photography and you're like, yeah, I love photos, and maybe you don't, maybe you do, or maybe you just don't care. First things first, do it because you like it. Don't do it because you think you'll get attention from it. Because I promise you this, I've been taking magical photos, pure art on my Instagram, and they're pretty good. Close-ups of flowers and such, tweaked a little bit with the edits, beautiful. But no one cares. No one cares. Because the reality is, first of all, you've got to take a perfect photo for even someone to like it nowadays. But the reality of our world is everyone's scrolling on Reels. You have to use video. You have to use a short form 3-minute video, preferably 30 seconds long to a minute. And it has to capture someone's attention and matter. And it can't be one picture. It has to be 60 frames per second. It has to be 60 pictures a second with editing and everything like that. It takes a lot. Videography is the thing to get into now. And even that is so competitive because everybody's got a fancy, perfect phone that is capable of so much. And quite honestly, before you get into this stuff, I want you to do two things. First of all, get a decent Samsung phone. Now, people say that the iPhone photography, the iPhone camera is better. That's wrong. Here's what iPhone does. Basically, if you have an Android and an iPhone user, the messages sent between them are lowered in quality because iPhone will refuse to cooperate with Android stuff. They have the capacity to do so. We have SMS messaging on Android as well as RCS chat. This is a normal SMS messaging. That's the classic. That's what's, that's been around for a very long time. And then we also have RCS chats, which are encrypted messages for Android users. Now, iPhone has their own thing that's encrypted, I think, maybe. It doesn't really matter because nothing is completely safe. You have to understand that anything that you put online is forever. Anything you download on your phone, anything that if you take a picture on your phone, that is forever. You can delete it. You can format your phone. You can destroy your phone, but as long as your storage drive is intact, someone can unformat it and bring your picture or whatever you took back. And that includes messaging, Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, Messenger, WhatsApp. It doesn't matter. Now, to what degree is a different story. How hard it is to do so is a different story. How secure your photos are and your messages are is differential. Fair enough. It is malleable. So having encrypted messages, great. That's wonderful. But come on, iPhone. You are really screwing over everyone here. Now, I know the reason for it. It's to snuff out Android users. It's to go, hey, everyone has an iPhone around you and they're all clowning on you because your chat is green when you text them and it's super lame and you're gay. That's what they're trying to say. When you're trying to send messages back and forth between iPhone and Android users, the images that come out are disgusting. It's like a PNG. It's deplorable. You have to go through social media. And a lot of times, iPhone users just won't do that. They just hate you. And, there's definitely a divide with them. Don't get me wrong, I've been very much capable of saying these things about iPhone users, and I've been very adamant on that. I was raised in an Android household. However, I do think that Android is better. You get more choice. I can buy a flip phone for $50 somewhere over here on a prepaid cell phone plan, or I can also get a full cell phone plan based on this $50 garbage phone, but it'll get the job done. And it's a flip phone. Done, right? Now, you can also spend $200 and get a decent, slow phone, but it'll get the job done. I can spend $400 and get a really good budget-friendly Google Pixel, Samsung from a couple years ago, and by a couple I mean probably about 5, but I can get a newer Android phone that is budget market. There is a market for you in every price point in Android, and since there's so much competition, there is so many phones that have been made and so many different knockoff brands of knockoffs of knockoffs of knockoffs, and also brands that are specifically making phones for a very specific price, and they stay within that range, give or take, and they've been doing it for about 5 years now. You've got a pretty good choice of phones to work with, and that's what's great about Android. However, yes, iPhones and Android phones, the flagships, the ones that you predominantly are probably buying, even if you're waiting a year or two, it's still a $1,200 phone that may be reduced down to $800. You're still spending a lot of money on a phone. However, a lot of people use their phone as their go-to camera. That is your first camera you ever use, regardless of what else you use, I do think that a phone is essential. I think that if you are looking for a phone and you're looking for your camera and you're looking for a good phone camera and you're looking for a computer to have on person at all times for the next 3 years, I think that having a phone is a huge and valuable investment. Now, whether or not you agree with us being on our phones too much, you have to understand that phones are essential to your life now. Your banking app, your Amazon purchases, Googling up some stuff on the fly because you need it, ChatGPT, cameras, calculators, the weather app, Google Maps as a GPS. Everything now is on our phones. Communication, calls, face messaging, social media, marketing, job hunting. Everything goes through your phone now. And then if you want, you can go to your laptop, but the reality is that no one uses their computer anymore. It's your phone that has the watch time. Whether or not you're using it for good purposes or not, your phone is essential. I'm filming this video on a phone because I'm not putting my camera up on my dash while driving and to set up all that crap. It's pointless. I don't care. Phone just gets the job done. It's great quality, 4K, all the 9 yards. I can upload straight from my phone, very easy, great on storage space, and it's always going to be pretty new with the newest tech. And that's just mass quantity shipped out too, so you're getting a lot of phones for a half-decent price in comparison to a handful of cameras. That's why my camera that I have is so expensive. But while you have your Android phone and you got a semi-decent camera for it, maybe an $800, newer phone, maybe a S23 Ultra, a 25 Ultra, great for you. I'm very happy. It's 200 megapixels, and you can shoot in RAW. That's pretty awesome. Now, if you actually compare a phone camera to a real camera with a full-frame sensor, the sensor difference is where it counts. You see, the megapixels determine the quality of the photo. However, that's not the only identifier of sheer quality of photo. It determines the amount of pixels that they have in the photo, how much you zoom in, how many pixels it still has. However, if you have a tiny sensor on your tiny phone, it's not able to capture everything that it's supposed to. And there's only so big your lens can be on your phone. That's a fixed lens and a fixed aperture that's able to capture that certain amount of detail, because it's a phone. It's not a camera. It's not built to take pictures. It's built to be a computer device with a screen on it that happens to take really decent photos. Now, you're going to hear a lot of photographer snobs talk to you about how you should just, phone cameras are okay, but you should really get a professional camera. I think you're a goober. However, I understand. When I first started taking photos with my camera, what I noticed is I wasn't noticing the differences at first. And it's because it's a skill issue, alright? So, what you need to do first is you need to max out the capacity that you have on your phone. Your sheer quality of photos, the capacity that you have for those photos should be completely maxed out. So how do you do that? Well, first off, you need to get Expert RAW on your phone. You need to have it readily available. You want to put it on 200 megapixels or 50 or whatever. You use the main camera. You don't use ultra wide. You don't use telephoto. We won't get into that now. Your main camera on your phone is 35 millimeter, equivalent to a full frame camera. That's amazing. 35 millimeters is probably one of the best focal lengths. It is wide. It doesn't screw up your face too bad, although it's pretty bad. That's why phone cameras do not take the best portraits of people, but it gets the job done. It gets the environment. You can get close up to things, really close to like little ants and stuff, and take amazing photos. I took one of a snail the other day, yesterday, and I'll have to show it to you on my Instagram, but it's pretty cool. Now, that being said, the other thing is the sharpness of a phone. Technically, the aperture, at least on my phone right now, is f1.7. In comparison to a lot of lenses on cameras, a lot of lenses on cameras are 1.8, 2.8, even higher aperture, which usually means that it's a smaller size, which which means it reduces the amount of light that comes into your sensor, which can be problematic if you really want to take a photo really quick in low light with free hand and just winging it, you know? So your phone camera can get you very far. So now that you have Expert RAW and you're starting to take raw photos, I want you to do one thing. There is JPEG only, raw photos, and then raw plus JPEG. First off, if you are, I don't want to edit my photos whatsoever, I do not care. Try this. Take your raw photo and JPEG photo and just snap away. Then search up in your gallery after a certain amount of time, because your camera basically takes the raw photos and then processes them with 20 seconds each photo. It takes its time and really gets it to the best of its ability. And you'll notice that these photos are not 6 megapixel size. They're actually 8 megapixel size, or technically 8 megabytes, I believe, in comparison to the usual 6, or however they look, or even a 200 megapixel photo, maybe 100 megabytes, whereas a 200 megapixel photo that is a JPEG straight up will be like something like 50 megabytes or whatever. The point is that the raw photos are actually, when an Expert RAW on your Samsung phone, presumably, is taking the photo, it's giving it some extra boost in there. It really is. I don't know why no one is talking about this, but if you take a 200 megapixel photo on your main camera on regular camera mode versus a Expert RAW photo with a RAW plus JPEG 200 megapixel photo, they are different. They are very different images, and they are better. So take Expert RAW and just take photos through there. If there's anything you could do, that's the first step. The second step is to download Lightroom Mobile. It's free, and there's no subscription unless you want to pay for it. A couple extra options. And then I want you to turn off the RAW plus JPEG. Just take raw photos on your phone. And as you start to edit, you're going to create presets, if possible, for yourself. You're going to tweak some settings, and for this scenario, you say cloudy day, blue sky, whatever, preset. You do one for sunset preset, this is how I like the colors to match up. And you build up a collection, and then once you get to that point, you're going to be like, well, let me use the telephoto lens on my camera. And you'll start to realize that the raw photos on the phone camera, on the other lenses, they're not as good as the main camera, like the ultra wide or whatever, but they still have some merit. They're still pretty good. And then that's when you're going to start to realize that your phone isn't a hero. Maybe you can do some videos, you can do some photos. You kind of have to do it during the daylight. You have to really edit your photos to pull some fun out of them, to pull that emotion and that like interest. And you're starting to realize, I'm being held back by my phone. Now the next step is this. I want you to research DSLRs. You'll notice that if you go into photography, you've got two different options. You've got mirrorless and DSLR. DSLRs are a thing of the past, and mirrorless are the future. You'll notice that people just don't make DSLRs anymore. If you want to get into film, that's another whole thing. Get it from your grandpa if you really want to play with film. Otherwise, I'm thinking about image quality straight off the bat, digital cameras. Now the first step is understanding that you should probably get a DSLR. They're older, they're a lot more cheap for the price, for you get a lot more bang for your buck straight up, and you can potentially get 2 lenses and a camera with a crap ton of batteries for about $200 on Facebook Marketplace. You're going to shoot 16 megapixel photos on an APS-C sensor, or maybe even a full frame equivalent. It's not the best. Obviously your phone camera is 200 megapixels. However, you have to understand that with a larger sensor size, the megapixels in that photo are significantly higher quality than in a phone camera. And then, on the other hand, you've got a full frame mirrorless camera with 24 megapixels up to 60. Let's get into that in a second. So I was saying, the mirrorless camera does a little bit of the work for you. The autofocus is amazing. The mirrorless camera also does something where it has no mirrors in the actual mechanics of the camera, which means it's more compact than a DSLR. However, with that means that you're not able to learn about a lot of photography tricks as much, because the mirrorless is just kind of handing it to you, just like your phone kind of hands it to you as well. So if you want to learn about mastering exposure and figuring that stuff out and learning about the exposure triangle with ISO, aperture, and shutter speed, a DSLR is how you learn, and also usually your cheapest camera to work up to. It'll be $200, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, eBay, whatever. A lot of people have them. A lot of people are trying to get rid of them. It's an easy sell. Now, the next thing is, that's weird. The next thing would be getting a mirrorless camera. Full frame, 24 megapixel, something like I've got. Now, you have to understand that your camera is going to get really expensive if you want something good. And then the next step is your lenses. Now, a lot of photographers will tell you primes are better than zooms. I agree, because aperture is very important. Aperture is how wide your lens can go without just not going any wider. It means that your sensor is able to capture more detail in that fuzzy bokeh around the subject. Portraits, it's bare essential that you have 1.8 aperture on an 85mm lens, prime. It is one focal length that does it well for the price. Zoom lenses just do everything kind of okay. However, I think that when you're getting your first camera, you should get a zoom lens, because I was held back by my prime lens, and I had a nifty 50. I still have it. It's a 1.8 aperture 50mm prime lens with Sony, and it's amazing. I love that lens. It does portraits well, it does cars well, it does a lot of everything very well. In low light, it's amazing. However, I would trade it in a heartbeat for an 85mm 1.4 aperture autofocus Meek lens, just because portraits are more versatile, it's more important. And also, I've noticed that in my photography, you really don't capture the whole scene around you as much. You really tend to focus on subjects, which means you need to get up on it and get close. And I find that if I have an 85mm lens that is maybe potentially macro friendly, where I'm able to get really close on a tiny flower, I think that would be perfect. So that may be my next endeavor. Now, with my current lens that I have now, it's a 28mm to 200mm lens that is 2.8 aperture to 5.6. It's a Tamron version 3 or something, Sony E-mount full frame, and it is beautiful. And I paid about $560 on eBay for it. Quite honestly, you think that's a high price, but in the lens market, that was a steal. I had to wait about a week to get it shipped from Japan, but it was well worth it. It said it was used, I checked it, it's working great. But you kind of have to take a risk to get a good deal. Otherwise, brand new right now, you're looking at about $800. And for a lot of lenses beyond that, you're looking at significantly higher prices, unless you're looking at prime lenses. However, I wanted 200mm because a lot of the photography I'm starting to take with nature means the critters are running from me, which means I need a little extra boost on that zoom. And you just can't get that with a nifty 50 or a 85mm lens. You're just not getting that. So that's the whole reason I got it, and I'm so grateful I did, because I've been taking amazing photos, and I can't wait to share them with you. I'm going to try to figure out how I can put this in a video for you that isn't just a slideshow with fake music on it. But I'll try to show them off to you. Anyways, I gotta get home. Your boy gotta eat. Have a good night. See ya.